people, how you all doing? Welcome and welcome back to the channel. It is Sandra here and back again with another video that hopefully we are all gonna like, learn, or just put our heads together. So this says this is angry Muslim woman insults Douglas Murray while debating Israel-Hamas conflict. Anyways, angry Muslim woman. Okay, let us get into this.
Well, I'm joined now by Douglas Murray of the think tank, the Henry Jackson Society, and by the Labour MP, Rushanara Ali. Welcome to both of you. Rushanara Ali, is there anything realistically that the West, the European Union, the British government can actually do to solve this conflict?
Well, we need the European Union and including the British government to work together to show leadership and also to act as an honest broker. And what we've seen yet again is that Israel has shown complete disregard for humanitarian issues. Some 600 people are now dead, mainly civilians, 100,000 seeking refuge. And we need the European Union to be a strong voice in recognising, of course, Israel needs to maintain its security, but its reaction and response is not proportionate, and we need the European Union, including the British government, to speak up and work towards resuming peace negotiations, which have been completely elusive over recent years.
How does Israel maintain its security without this sort of violence that escalates?
Well, this sort of violence and the death of so many people, particularly Palestinians, of course there have been casualties on the Israeli side as well, but the vast majority have been Palestinians, won't secure Israel, won't provide long-term security. What we need is the international community to work together. But also, Israel needs to respect international humanitarian law, international law generally, and that's not happening.
Has Israel disregarded humanitarian and international law by going into Gaza in the way they have?
No, not at all. Apart from anything else, the very muted response, and indeed in many cases a very encouraging response for Israel from the international community, is, I think, testament to the fact that it is playing not just by the rules, but by the most stringent rules imaginable. The reason why the casualties exist in the Gaza is obviously because Israel is trying, as an operational objective, to stop Hamas and other jihadist groups from firing rockets into Israel. In order to do that, Israel is carrying out a very, very targeted campaign. Now, it is inevitable in that civilians are going to be killed as well. And one of the reasons why that is happening... Excuse me, if I just finish. One of the reasons why it's targeted, because they are trying to get the launch pads for that the rockets are coming from. Now, one of the reasons why there is a problem from this, of course, is that Hamas has, and incidentally CNN has the tape of this, among others, has been encouraging the people of Gaza to, quote, protect the houses of Hamas commanders, to actually congregate around areas which the Israelis have dropped leaflets and texted civilians to say this area is going to be hit. Hamas has actually tried to maximise the casualties. So that's the first point. As for how this is to be stopped, I think there's a very important thing that we do not, the international community does not simply perpetuate this conflict in trying to stop Israel from achieving the operational objective of stopping the rocket fire. The international, this is the third time now that this has happened. Well, and I would suggest...
It's more than the third time,
no,
actually.
The third time there's been this exchange since 2007.
Right. OK. I mean, we'll look at the operational and what actually both sides are hoping to achieve. But Rushanara Ali, you told a demonstration at the weekend that David Cameron had failed to show international leadership. My party is with you and the Labour Friends of Palestine are with you. Do you have Ed Miliband's support for your line on this conflict?
Well, Ed Miliband has made it absolutely clear that the incursion, the ground incursion, he said this only yesterday as well, the ground incursion is not one that is supported. We recognise Israel's demand, as Ed Miliband has said, to for its security, but its response has been disproportionate. And the point about international leadership is, if you look at what David Cameron said in 2010, he described the blockade of Gaza as an open prison. Gazan people are suffering, and what there seems to be a collective amnesia.
Is that the fault of Hamas as well as Israel?
Of course, these groups. The point is that the public the public, Palestinians are suffering, and the international community has a responsibility to respond to the needs of those people.
I must just ask you, Douglas Murray, on the issue of operations. The last 10 years, there have been a series of ground and air operations by the Israeli Defence Forces on Hamas, and there are at least half a dozen of these. The rockets still continue to come into Israel. So the argument could be, are these Palestinians, innocent Palestinian civilians, losing their lives for nothing? The Israelis are not achieving their aims. The rockets continue from Hamas, and, all right, you are saying that they hide their munitions, their rockets and militant leaders in civilian buildings. But in the end, the Israelis have not stopped the rockets coming in, and more Palestinians are dying.
I mean, anyone interested in bringing peace to the region has to bear in mind the very serious learning curve that Israelis went through when, after the withdrawal from Gaza in 2005, they got not peace from Gaza, but rocket fire, thousands and thousands of rockets. So what they've been trying to do since is to stop the rocket fire. And as I say, since 2007, Hamas did a military coup in the Gaza and killed their fellow Palestinians from Fatah and other parties. The Israelis have, on 3 major occasions now, gone in. Now, the problem with this is that the international community tends to allow Israel some weeks in order to achieve the operational objective.
They're going to lose international support, aren't they,
now,
Israel?
The crucial thing, just to add on this, is it is very important that Israel is allowed to win at some point. The international community is quite good at prolonging the conflict precisely by not allowing Israel to achieve its operational objective.
What does a win look like in this case? I mean, can there ever be a military solution to this problem of particularly Gaza and Israel rather than the West Bank and Israel?
It's a platitude, but it happens to be true here. There are going to be no winners here, whatever the outcome. I think that, if I can speak personally, my heart is rather with what Roshanara says. However, I have 2 caveats. One is, I really dislike the tendency, particularly from the media here, always to put Israel in the dock here. The truth of the matter is that the people of Gaza actually voted for Hamas, and they voted knowing what would happen. Hamas has been very clear it has no intention of making peace with Israel. So actually, this is a horrible, cruel thing to say. This is a result of a democratic outcome. And by the way, the really bigger issue here is Egypt, because that's what's really made the big difference here. So I think...
And Egypt is also worried about being on the border with Gaza.
The peculiar thing is, Israel and Egypt, relative to Gaza, are in exactly the same position right now. Yes. So I think that the notion of the way that we tend to report this, which is it's Israel versus suffering Palestinians, is just not right. That's not what this is about.
I mean, Roshanara Ali, what is it that Hamas wants to achieve? I mean, what is it? I mean, Trevor Phillips says that people voted for Hamas as opposed to Fatah, to the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. They voted for Hamas knowing that they would be much more hardline. So what is it that they want?
I hope what Trevor's not saying is that by voting for Hamas, those who voted were in some way are now deserve, or the punishment, collective punishment that is now being espoused.
No, that's an outrageous thing to say.
Let me finish.
That's an outrageous thing to say.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
I very much hope not. But the point is that this cycle of violence is going on and on. The fact is that the Palestinians have lived under occupation, and Gaza
They're not under occupation. They have their own state.
That's nonsense.
is a state,
that's nonsense.
and it is run by Hamas, and they had one election, which, as Trevor said, the people voted for Hamas. Hamas then killed the opposition, and they've never had an election since. But they could have a state. If they wanted a state, they could have a state.
Let Roshanara finish her point. You're saying that they are living under occupation.
There seems to be a bit of amnesia here about the history of what's happening in that region, and the fact that Palestinians don't have a state. They have, lived under occupation. They've lived under attack, and what we need is rapidly, in order to secure peace, which is rapidly eluding this region. We need the international community. We need leaders in America and European Union to work together to resume negotiations and to first of all bring an end to this conflict.
Well,
and
the end to the conflict will be fastest brought about by Hamas being thrown out of the West Bank by the Palestinians of the West Bank, or by any other force available. We've got to remember this. The two-state solution, such as it is, and it's a dream, but it's still a possible dream. If you're talking talk about the West
Do
Bank.
the Israelis genuinely believe in that?
Yes, I think they do, with the West Bank. The thing that is a problem, and is an irreconcilable problem at the moment, is what you do with Hamas, which wants to annihilate the Jewish state and does not want peace. That is a problem.
Right.
The real problem here is the agenda is now being controlled by people who don't want peace, whether it is the settlers on the West Bank or it's Hamas. That's the problem. How do we wrest the agenda out of the hands of those groups of people who, by the way, are not states? These are gangs.
We did get into that. If you guys have been on my channel for however long I've been into like videos like this, you guys would know that I feel like I keep on saying the same thing, I keep on asking the same thing, and I feel like I'm at a point I could sound like a broken record. So now this is like the whole thing going on in Gaza is horrible. It is the worst nightmare anyone could ever think of, and more so in your own country, in your own territory, in your home, in your land. Any way you want to think about it, it is bad and it needs to stop, right? And like issues like this, like very sensitive issues like this are very sensitive, most especially when you're speaking about it online, because there is so much room for misunderstanding, there's so much room for conflict, there's so much room for a whole lot of things that wouldn't benefit the situation at hand, and obviously wouldn't benefit like people who are trying to help, okay? But there's something I need people to understand, because I also got to study and understood it myself, right? What is going on in Gaza between Israel and the Palestine? What is going on there is a war, is a fight between two nations that have a conflict and they're fighting, right? I'm just wondering, what could be a visible resolve to this? Because I don't believe that anyone would want violence. I don't want to believe that any country, any region, any territory would want violence to be like their everyday life. So I always just think, like, is there truly a resolve that like Israel and Hamas are overseeing? Like, is there truly a resolve to all of this, that those countries who are in war are not, you know, are not aware of, right? And if there is, I mean, why can't we help and, you know, bring that in? Because, you know, she's talking about like renegotiation, and you do not negotiate with people who do not want to negotiate. You cannot negotiate, because everything that's happening between Hamas and Israel, everything that's happening with the Palestine, everything that's going on in Gaza, it's honestly between two parties. It's not just one person who is just going, like my, you know, older generations have told me, war is very ugly. And I feel like we as humans, and most especially like the governments, the people who are in charge of like the whole, like the rest of us, we should strive so much to really curtail conflicts, that it doesn't escalate to the stage where it cannot be curtailed anymore. So if there's a conflict, I don't know, we should try our hardest to not make it get into, because then it is just out of control. And when things like that are out of control, trust me, innocent people are going to be hurt at the end of the day. My heart goes out for everyone in Gaza. Every single day I go through life, and I go through like very minimal struggles, and I just imagine what like the people in Gaza are going through, and it's so heartbreaking. And every day I pray and just really hope that this whole thing could just really die down, and let these people have a life, let them have their lives back. You know, if it's a war, believe me, I'm not even gonna focus on the war or like the terrorists or like who's right, who's wrong. I'm not gonna focus on it, because at the end of the day, innocent people are taking the fall for it, which is just the saddest and the wrongest thing that, you know, should happen. But nonetheless, people, I have gotten to this. I would really love to know what you guys think about this. So please do, you know, just engage me down in the comment box. Please tell me your thoughts, your opinions. I really want to know like what you all think about like each group and just the whole thing that's happening, and what we feel can be a way forward, and how we, I don't know, the whole world can even help and just be like of help, basically. Do tell me all of that down in the comment box. I'm really gonna appreciate it. We've come to the very end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Do well to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel if you get to do that, and you know that you do enjoy the videos as such. I'm really gonna appreciate it. And upon to the very next one, people.